All right, so the question of today, could there be equilibrium? Could there be balance? I spoke with my daughter last night. I promise I'm not going to make this how awesome my daughter is, but these thoughts and things get evoked through conversations that I have with my children, and I think that a lot of us, even adults, have never been educated in these matters, and we don't really, maybe sometimes don't think them. They just kind of slip right by us. But an equilibrium of like an equalization of knowledge, of health, of exercise, of money, of all kinds of things. And that's what I want to talk about today. And let's get into the show. Welcome to another edition of Up and In. I'm your host, Adrian Babishoff. And if you're new here, welcome as well. If you're wondering what the show is about, it's entirely dedicated to creating an alternative lifestyle design that improves quality of life for both people and for the planet. Exploring alternatives to the daily grind through liberation and independence, moving you from surviving to thriving and living life raw. So yeah, very proud of my daughter. I'm not going to make this all about her, but 13-year-old, and it's I like what's going on, man, and that's what I think I'd like for you guys and more for myself as well. Is I asked her, I said, well, let me pay you. I want you to work for me, because right now I'm running about 3-4 different businesses. We got some new startups, and I need things. I could use a housekeeper. At this point in my life, I can't do everything, and I don't want to kill myself. So I decided to employ her and see how well she does, and I need to pay her. Therefore, she needs to open up a bank account. But I told her, I says, well, let's take a look, and let's see what's going on. You do all the work. First of all, too, this puts responsibility on her for things that she wants. I says, well, like going out to sushi or buying a survival backpack, which is one of the things she wants. Says, well, you get the money, you figure it out. I'll take you to go get it. You know, maybe you could chip in even for some gas. Making her think, systems things. I just did a podcast on that about a week ago. So her smart ass, the potty mouth podcast too. If you have children, it gets worse than just shit. But yeah, I asked her reply was, I said that you start a bank account, they're going to want to take some money out of it. You know, nothing comes for free. She goes, well, I'll just do a savings account where they don't charge me. When I get enough money, I'll transfer it over to a checking. I said, brilliant. And she goes, and that way it'll force me to save some money too. So that's the thinking that I look at, and I want you guys to comprehend. The second one I'll say on my daughter, and this is the last one, is that she made mention to me about how my biodegradable container gardening right now is what I'm doing, growing plants, and what we're doing is land race breeding. And land race means that certain all plants will hold memory inside of them, and as the genetics pass every year, the plant gets better and better. There's encoded information in it. And her question was to me was, could it be that I've encoded into her a fast metabolism and everything from being so active when I was younger, or just my lifestyle? I says, we possibly can. It opens up a whole can of worms with the biology of belief and all kinds of other things that I'm kind of into. But that's the gist of it. So the questions as for a 13-year-old is really, really fascinating to me, especially for that age. And I wonder for you guys, one of the conversations we had was about getting a balance and an equilibrium, which this specific episode is all about. And it's about using, we'll start with like your mind. And it's Stephen Hawking who said that the mind is like a muscle. I think everything is like a muscle. Practice makes perfect, as the saying goes, but a lazy muscle gets atrophied. And you just get familiar. If anything else, your brain or your body gets familiar. It's scientifically proven. A lot of guys, athletes and people of such will expose themselves to extreme cold, like ice cold bathing. And if the first week or so, their body just goes into shock. It's like, holy shit, what are you doing to me? Hypothermia, like they start breathing heavy. But after a while, what they find is that the body actually starts to acclimate to it. It starts to work like a muscle. There we go. That's where we're at. And they do the same thing to heat. So moving yourself, practicing, your body will biologically already adapt. Same thing, I believe, with your mind. There's a science project that went on where they gave these people they wired up their brains. I forget what they call that, where they're measuring all the neuron functions and everything in the skull. And they found that some people's heads would just light up red. It froze, when they gave them very, like almost an impossible equation to do. And whereas some people's minds, I guess I'm making shit up here, turned like blue, like it was on a colder route, but it was autopiloting. It was smooth. It was liking what it was doing. So it wasn't panicking or anything of that nature. And I think that the wisdom in life, to expose ourselves, as here on YouTube and creatives, people creating content, they're saying you got to pivot. I think in life you have to pivot as well, all the time in business, meaning that things change. You got to pivot and make things work to accommodate that change and keep the ball rolling. My life's been one big giant pivot every fucking day. I don't know what it's like to not pivot. So, but exercising that one all the time is, I think, almost like sabotaging yourself on purpose, just to play like a little game, not a big one. I do this with my kids too. I give them problems. My special needs daughter, I fold the socks inside out, so make her have to do some work. I hand them to her and give her a problem, make her brain start to work. So moving on in health, I think that this is what I told my daughter, is like with the equilibrium thing, is it's fun to party. I loved it. Like when I was a kid, I used to love to surf and skate and snowboard and do all kinds of things, but it didn't involve going out and drinking booze or smoking weed and stuff of that nature. Sometimes, yeah, later on at night, but if you were there and there was big waves or stuff going on, you took it serious, man. You went. It was fun. It was a drug in and of itself. So it was very strange for me, because then I'd like to go out to bars and stuff and chase women and have fun, So I had friends who, the night would be dead, or somebody would be like, let's go skate a half pipe. I know one that's down the street or something. They're like, let's just drink. Their bodies were atrophied, and they didn't really, if they did try it, they maybe lasted half an hour or so. They got all sweaty and messed up their beautiful hair and their cologne that they were all set up for, even though I guess it worked for them, but I had no problem without having to get fine combed hair and cologne. That was back then. I was a twinkle. Now I'm just a wrinkle. But yeah, I had trouble because, and intellectually as well, as I like to read books. I've been inquisitive, just like my daughter, and sometimes I'd like to strike up conversations. There was times we'd be at like a coffee house, and I'd meet people who get high on coffee. Everything means something. We're all going to pour our feelings out, even though nobody's going to act on them, But we'd have a fun philosophical conversations that would last till 1, 2 in the morning, And my windows are getting fogged up here. By the way, this is my mobile studio. 7.3 liter diesel pickup truck, 96. I'm on my way to work, and that's the background noise. But yeah, so to wrap that all up, is what fun life could be, that if you did so choose to party, smoke weed and drink, whatever. I think you should definitely be of age, and you should research first before you do things of that nature, and don't hurt yourself. But that's exactly what I'm talking about, is like, go ahead and have fun if that's what you feel like you need to do. But why don't you also get some exercise? It's like I told my daughter, doesn't it feel good to look good? Not just for other people, but just for yourself. To physically feel fit. You have more energy, and doesn't it feel good to educate yourself, to know about things, and constantly be inquisitive? It's like, I don't know if other people understand this, but when you start diving into things, it's like a drug. Like, you start finding out the biology, the way things move, act, and what you can do about it, and how you start incorporating it in your life, and it becomes like an obsession, like a thing. Like, you're just like, I can't get enough of it. Instead of watching a movie, you'll find yourself researching about it. That's what I do, like almost every single night. Well, pretty much every night. I can't watch movies anymore. I love learning about different things. But learning doesn't have to be so boring. And I think possibly I beat it up all the time, but public education, I think, is beating out the magic. It's Machiuri Kaku who said it was the worst day of his life. The physicist, I think a Japanese guy, and well known, I guess. And he said his daughter said the last thing she'd ever want to be as a scientist, after having to learn algebra and do all this stuff. And he just felt like public education completely failed her. And in my opinion, it did. But it was so frustrating, and that she just gave up. And he says it was the worst day of his fucking life. And it kills the imagination, I think, of us. And I think some of us, I don't think it's ever completely murdered out of our brains, but I think that it's definitely squashed, and we need to work on getting that open. But again, on the fun of life, bringing it to money, speaking to my daughter, and I think for you guys as well, is like, why not get good at making money as well? Like, maybe some of you are telling me, well, how the hell are you supposed to get good at all these things? It's really easy. The money part, I think, is probably the difficult one, but walking or getting health, just start walking. Just try 10 minutes a day, and don't do anything fancy. Don't power walk or anything, just walk. And do this every single day, or 5 days a week. And then start cutting out some stuff out of your diet, some cheeseburgers and things of that nature. It doesn't mean you have to cut it out all the time, but there is some yummy foods, like the one I'm going to tell you guys right now. I just discovered, I never have. It's arugula. In fact, today I'm driving. It's Monday, probably the 9th, I think. I'm not sure, the 10th, 2020, February. But arugula, you guys, it's like nutty, like it tastes like someone put like peanuts and something else with a little tiny hint of horseradish into some lettuce. Oh, there's wonderful foods and juices and plant proteins and shakes and stuff out there, smoothies, stuff you can make, and start whittling on your life. But having that equilibrium where you have the money to party properly. And when I say party, guys, it doesn't mean that I'm like go out and get butt naked and run down the streets and get drunk, and all that shit, although it does help. No, I'm saying like go traveling, and like, especially if you're not married, you're not in a relationship, you don't have a pet, you don't have kids or nothing, like when you're young, get that money and go to, like me, I went to Mexico. I surfed the longest wave in the Guinness Book of Records. It wasn't, well, I didn't get to surf it, I got to go see it, and I surfed a break next to it, which was, even though it was really small, it was only like 4 foot, was one of the best waves surfing spots I've ever had. But the point is, I got to go to these places and do things, and it opens up opportunity. And I was also physically fit enough to do these things, to go snowboard and skate and surf and fish and hike and do and live life, basically. So that's the message I have today, guys, is like, man, it's what I want for you guys, and more for myself too, is like what I told my daughter is like, I love you so much, and I know that it's not my job to enforce or form you or enforce anything on you. It's my job to inform you and show you things. It's up to you what you're going to do about it, what you're going to utilize. And I hope that message hit her. It seems like it was, because you can see the gears in their head that start, that they start to wonder, thinking around, But you guys, life doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be this way. I want you to figure out, and PM me, message me if you guys have any questions, like what it is that I do. But look around you and start exercising those things. I think that's probably the key. If you ask me, how do I make money? How do I get healthy? How do I exercise my brain? How do I do anything? It's just practice, and it doesn't have to be a huge job. It could be just like people say, a side hustle, like a side business that you're doing. Use this as a side hobby. Get yourself prepared. Start taking baby steps towards it, and I guarantee you, anybody, no matter what ailment you have, you start eating healthier, you start exploring your mind, and you start learning things, small things, and just take those steps, 1 foot in front of the other every single day, and I guarantee you, you will get somewhere. And the beautiful part is that some of this shit may fail. Maybe it may fuck up where you're like, I don't like this, but guess what? It's not a fail. It's a thing that you learned that you didn't want to do. Or maybe the way that you're going about making money, for instance, is not the way that, it's the wrong way. It's the wrong way for you, maybe. Maybe it works for other people, and you're trying to follow exactly to the T what they're doing and reverse engineer it. It's not working for you. There's always different angles. And as I say all the time, one of the biggest messages on this show is to be original, because that's where all beautiful and new things come. Look at Elon Musk inventing, he's doing things that nobody's ever done before, because he's using his imagination. He gets a thought, he gets an idea, he puts 1 foot in front of the other, and he has his stories too. I think that's, well, to finish up on that, new paintings, new art ideas, new movies, new concepts always come from people doing things their own way. And it doesn't fit all of us. It never, we can't, there's no compartmentalism. What works for one person is not going to work for the other. And I also would like to say too, is that we measure ourselves up to a lot of these people who are rock stars, movie stars, or just successful people in general, those around us, some of our elders or peers or something. But you know what? Few people ever show them crying in the fucking corner, at 1 in the morning going, I don't think I can do this anymore. And I actually want to show you guys what I'm doing. That's where I'm heading right now, is to Violet's Farms for my special needs daughter. I'm building out a greenhouse and starting a whole new business. And in some ways, I hope that it gets screwed up pretty bad. That way I can show you guys what I'm going to do to fix it and what happens. Or maybe the whole thing will flop and they'll take it to a different angle. But I believe, as I tell my child to you guys, I tell her, I says, I believe in you. And you should believe in you as well. And I say the same message to you. I believe in you guys, each and every single one of you, and you should believe in yourself as well. Don't give a fuck what anybody else says, even me. You don't need me to believe in you. You just maybe need me to say that so that it wakes up, it puts a spark and ignites something inside you so that you'll go out there and actually do something for yourself and own your own mind, own your own fucking life. That's the message of the show too, to move you from surviving to thriving, but to be able to own it and bone it, to be able to get out there and do what it is that you want to, how you want to do it, when you want to do it, however the fuck you want to do it. Personal freedom, personal growth, personal realization, life actualization. That's the show, guys. And got a little fervorous there, didn't I? Start spitting all over. But yeah, that's the show, guys. If you like this sort of thing and you want the show to keep going, I need reviews and I need likes. Only if you like it, though. Don't patronize me just because, you know, and check out everything on the platforms at YouTube, Spotify, Apple iTunes, Facebook. There's a private Facebook group. There's Instagram, TikTok. We're very busy right now, but I try to post as much as possible there. You'll find in each area, you'll find things that you're not going to find in the other. But as I always say, guys, go out there and have yourself a near-life experience. Don't lose your muchness. Human up. Carry on the fire. Live it, love it, own it, and bone it, people.